Hey guys, happy Wednesday happy Wednesday the 30th. Just a few things, and I'm sure I'm going to get some lash out from some folks with one of the things I want to talk about today. So just a couple of updates. One, our country is in, for the most part, a crazy, crazy deep freeze. This snow certainly impacts my business and my day. We have double-digit temperatures right now. We're in the teens. Tonight it'll be down into the single digits, approaching zero. I'm here in other parts of the country are below zero as we speak. So kind of hard to have the snow melt and disappear when that happens. And thinking back to my journey and my days spent in Phoenix, when I kind of griped about the monotone look to the landscape. The one thing that was there was warmth, and I could really go for that right now. I'll settle for the brown, but I wouldn't mind visiting Bob and Sue and Susan and Brian again and enjoying that right about now. But anyway, just a couple of things along with the cold talk about. It was one thing I really wanted to talk about. Trying to bring awareness to it and also maybe teach lessons when I can. And in this case, I think words, interpretation of your words is really what matters, not what you're saying. I think that gets so lost in our conversations, our communications, and our disagreements. I can speak personally in my own household. Too often when there's a discussion, instead of hearing what the other person's interpreting what we said or how they perceived it, we discuss, how we meant it. And it's good to explain you didn't mean anything in a certain way, but really all that matters is how the person perceives it. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I did want to talk about, though, something yesterday. Again, on my journey and in my life, one of the things I've always done a pretty good job of is appreciating today, living for today, and trying to cherish it. Because as I said along the journey, there are times where not times. It's just we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed the next hour. We just don't know. It's just the way life is. In fact, yesterday while writing my book, I had sort of 2 nights ago, sort of an emotional moment, because one of the things I talked about on my journey, but didn't really go into a lot of detail with, really trying to protect my kids and those that cared about me, was out on the journey. There was one time where I came really, really close to getting killed. I'm not saying it to be, to spew hyperbole or it's just a reality. And I kind of broke down right afterwards, and I wrote about it yesterday, and it was really tough to relive the moment, but I did. Anyway, on the journey I've talked about how we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So in New York City, to those of you that have ever been or in a large city with subway stations, it's crowded, it's busy, and they're a way of life for people. A young mother in New York, I think she was from the Bronx, I want to say, I think she was 22 years old. She was carrying her 1-year-old in a stroller down the stairs. She slipped, she fell. She tumbled down the concrete stairs. I assume she hit her head. She died. And it just brings to light a couple of things. One, it brings to light, when you see these warning signs, no strollers on escalators or this or that, they're there for reasons. I know I myself tend to disregard them with they're not talking about me kind of mentality, which is really ignorant, but it's reality. But this woman, this was life for her, and now her 1-year-old grows up without a mom because she was just trying to, whatever she was doing, get to work, get to home, get to wherever, and she slipped and fell. And the other part of that I have a thought on that, not look to the point the finger of blaming anybody, but I wonder how many people saw her struggling, or not even maybe struggling, just attempting, and offered to help her. I'm sure it's winter, so she had heavy clothing, maybe gloves. I wonder how many people were so wrapped up in their own lives, and maybe that's unfair to say. They were just so busy living that they didn't see around them. They didn't see 3 feet this way and 3 feet that way, and she lost her life. So I encourage you guys, when you're out there, one of the things I think I've done a much better job of since the journey has been being more aware of my surroundings and the people in particular around me in those surroundings. And you know, I guarantee you, if I asked 100 people right now if they, knowing the outcome, if they would offer to help her, they absolutely 99 of 100, if not 100, would. But yet, you know, this woman's not with us any longer. So kind of sad, tragic. All we can do is kind of use it as a learning tool and kind of grow from there. So that's the next thing I wanted to talk about on this video. Before I do that, though, I'll tell you that I was writing last night and I had a really neat moment. You know, I had some really tremendous experiences, and I was writing about a particular day, following up the near-death experience to a day where I made it into Ontario, Ohio, and I met some truly wonderful people. And I reached out to one of them last night just to see how he was doing. He's been in the hospital, and it was really good to see. And I sent him a clip of the part of the book pertaining to him. And he's definitely a character, maybe, you know, one of the top 2 or 3 characters in the book, if not number 1. He said, that's pretty accurate, I approve, and he sent it. So these are the things that bring me a little bit of joy while I'm reliving this book, and memories you'll never forget. So even if the book flops and nothing ever comes and points the thumb, which I truly don't think is the case, but if it never does, it already has. I already have that experience to share. Lastly, the thing I want to talk about again talks about one of the things I try to do, and I've always done a good job of this in my entire life, is unfortunately, in some cases, I think of others first all the time. I think of how things impact them, maybe more so before how it impacts me. And maybe that doesn't even serve me, you know, well in my position sometimes, because I'm a little liberal when it comes to my delivery teams, the warehouse guys and gals, and the effort they put forth. But I was in church on Sunday, and it was a really good church session. But one of the things that I've dealt with quite a bit on this journey, maybe even one of the things that drove me to take the journey, is mental health, mental illness, depression, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's a mental illness, maybe it's just depression. I'm no clinical anybody to diagnose. So, but I've talked to people along the way. I've seen Facebook posts. I've had people call me and reach out to me as someone who would listen without judging them. Some people I've known a long time. Some people I haven't met for a long period at all. But I'm flattered that they think enough of me to include me in that. I talked on the journey as I met Carol Todd and her daughter Amanda Todd, who I'll always go back to the Amanda Todd legacy. I have a bracelet right here. This young 13-year-old that got herself in a situation where she was bullied relentlessly, all because of a stupid lapse in judgment, maybe 2 of them, certainly not worthy of taking her life. But had she been able to communicate or talk to somebody, how wonderful that would be. But I just posted a picture to my Facebook page and my Journey Facebook page. I was in church on Sunday, and I had a really great experience. It was just a wonderful day. The day itself, church was a part of it. But I was thinking, there was a song we were singing, and it was talking about, I can't do it justice, but it was an upbeat song. But the last line had something to do with, if I don't have, it was talking about moving on to the next phase. You know, that our body on this earth is not the final resting ground. There's more after this. And the last line said something along the lines of, you know, I don't feel at home, you know, and essentially was saying, you know, once you get to the next level, is happiness and peace and love, and you'll feel at home. And again, you know, the words are the words. You cannot change what the words are. But what would be interesting is how people receive those words. And what I mean by that is depression is something that's on my mind quite a bit. Not because I'm suffering from it, but because I try to stay in touch with those people that are suffering from it and just let them know I'm thinking about them, I love them, you know, they're in my thoughts. But I try to understand what they're going through. Since the day I started the journey, started doing videos, I talked about it's easy in a right frame of mind to say, well, that's a selfish thing to do, or this is a dumb thing to do, right? But those people aren't in their right frame of mind. And when you can understand that, you can at least understand them a little bit better. So as I'm sitting in church and I'm watching this line, I'm wondering to myself, and not trying to be morbid, the message isn't intended this way, and I'm sure the vast majority of people take it the way it's intended. But I'm sitting there wondering, if you're at church because you're in a state of kind of desperation, right? You're depressed, you're not in a good place, you're financially stressed, you're addicted to something, whatever the case may be. A lot of people go to church sometimes as a last salvation. And I'm wondering, as I'm sitting there, if you've got people battling demons in their head, and on comes this song with people singing about, I don't feel at home on this earth, and there's something beyond that's better and will make me feel at home. I'm wondering how that's received by that person. And I almost wondered if, in a sense, I'm not saying this is the intent, but in a sense, at least to that person, if this song isn't somehow encouraging, glorifying, essentially saying, hey man, you know what, you're in pain right now, you're hurting, you're addicted, you're stressed, there's something beyond here, or the way that all goes away, guys. The pain goes away, the stress goes away, there's something beyond. And I'm wondering how somebody who's depressed might hear that. Maybe I'm just talking stupidly and nobody would think that way, but I really believe, I'm just talking for myself, that if I was in a really depressed mode in that moment and I saw that, there'd be a part of me going, you know what, I don't want to leave this church and go back to my life. I don't want to go back to the bills and the fighting at home, or the fighting at work, or the addiction that's calling me, or the need to shoot up or drink or whatever. You know what, if I just get out of this world I'm in, there's something better waiting for me. And like I said, it's just something to think about. I'm not saying the church shouldn't post that song. I just try to be more sensitive to some things, and I wonder, I don't know the church, the pastor, anybody else there, but I wonder if I brought up that point, how it would be received. Would people at least just hear what I was saying and say, hey, there's some credence to that, maybe we should be careful about that? Or, would they become defensive like so many do and say, oh no, that's not how it's intended, here's how it's intended, and, you're wrong for thinking anything different. I don't know, just a thought. So, guys, have yourselves a great day. Stay warm. I'll keep you updated. Sorry for getting a little deep with you today, but it is what it is. So hang in there. Love you all. Thanks for following, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.